And also, if you ever see me falling asleep in the middle of the presentation, it's fine. I have a terrible jet lag. I just came from Europe yesterday. So again, blame jet lag and microphone. Okay, and so today we are going to talk about the personalization. And I'll try to keep it short so that we all can enjoy the networking and the nice food and drinks afterwards. And there will be only 4 items for the agenda. So first of all, we will talk a little bit about the personalization. So what it is, because like different companies, different people in industry treat it differently, right? And then we will talk about the ocean approach. This is our approach to the personalization. And I'll show some live demo we prepared specifically for this event. And then we will spend maybe a couple minutes talking about the future of personalization, where it goes. Okay? And before we even start, just a quick questionnaire so I understand better the audience. So how many people do we have from the technology, like engineers, data scientists, developers? Okay. That's a lot. And how many people we have from business, like people who pay for the engineers? And okay, not bad. Yeah, but unfortunately, people from business are not enough to cover all of the expenses. So, anyways, let's start. So what is personalization like? Why it is important? Like, is it important like in general, so that e-commerce site or in-store experience is personalized for us? I guess it all depends. There's strange noise there, but anyways. And I just prepared a couple of marketing slides here, just to highlight again that personalization is quite important, right? Everybody wants to be treated personally, right? So when you walk into the store, it would be magic if people in store knows what you need, what's your price range, what's your preference in colors and stuff like that. It's very obvious, right? Big companies already calculated what will be the benefit from the personalization. I personally never trust these numbers because it's very hard to estimate it, right? But at least we all understand that this is a big deal, right? Even if it will increase the average check by 10%, it's a big deal, right? If it will increase the conversion rate, it is a big deal. And nobody can definitely tell you for sure what will be the percentage of this increase, but everybody understands that it is true, it will increase it, right? And there are a couple of successful stories already in the personalization world, and people reported in different surveys, of course, and more than half of the retailers actually confirm that in different ways, but personalization impacts their revenue, their customers in a positive way, right? Couple more benchmarks and surveys. We will send this presentation later on, so don't worry about it. I'm just trying to highlight the importance of it. And speaking about the biggest companies in e-commerce world, right? So for instance, Amazon is reporting 30% of revenue coming from the personalized recommendation. This is the bar which says, we recommend you this or that, right? And I even make a screenshot of what it recommends to me. To be honest, I'm not sure about all of these items. But somehow 30%, probably there are 70% on the right side which didn't fit here, which will match me much better. But anyways, recommendation engines on Amazon works pretty well. For instance, if you buy the music instrument keyboard, right? It suggests you to buy the amplifier, right? And some people who play keyboards didn't even know before that there are amplifiers for keyboards which will increase the quality of the sound, right? And this recommendation engine is actually extending your awareness about the products which might be related to you. And then you go ahead and buy them, and you of course increase their revenue, but you already also increase your experience as well dealing with this website, right? So it works pretty well, but the message here is that recommendations engine is not the personalization, right? And this is probably the biggest confusion in the world of personalization, because majority of the e-commerce sites believe that they implement the rec engine and that's it, this is the personalization, but it's not, it's only the beginning. And what is actual personalization? It consists of three major topics. So first one is what to sell, right? What to recommend. And we have people from real estate, like realty estate here, like real estate company here, and of course, like when they have a customer who comes to them, for instance, and say, listen, I want an apartment in Austin. Then they ask a couple of questions, right, to understand what they need, and then they come up with recommendations. So this the same way e-commerce website works, similar way, right? It looks at what you bought before, it looks at your preferences, and then it starts recommending your other products. For instance, we came up with the idea of trying to recommend this beautiful yellow car, right, to funnel our customers. So this is only one sort of the deal. The next deal is like when to recommend, right? So how do you think, what's the best moment in the life to recommend the car? Any ideas? How would you recommend it to your friend or no family member?
When you have a baby.
Someone gets in the wreck. Okay. That's good. Any other options?
When their kids turn 16.
They bought a house and they have like +5 kids occasionally, right? They need a bigger car. This car will not fit, but some other car might fit. I came up with this idea that like probably the best moment for me to recommend it is like in a totally full bus, and somebody sends me a text message, look, listen, you can have a car. This would be a good moment for me, right? And the third one is actually how do you sell it? How do you pitch it? How do you attract the attention to this product? How do you build this trust and promote this product from the very beginning when person sees it, right? And it could be totally different message to the person who's stuck in a bus and to the lady on the left side. Hopefully you will recognize her. And this is actually the most important probably piece, because recommendation engine can come up with some relevant items, non-relevant items. It can come up in an appropriate moment of time or not, but the way how you actually promote it, right? The message which resonates with the person, the type of content which resonates with the person is the probably most important thing. And this is what influences the conversion rate. Will it be sold or not, right? The same way how a good seller in store can see the customer and can recognize his or her personality and come up with the appropriate message, the same way e-commerce websites or platforms should be able to build this trust from the very beginning. And this is where we concentrate on. So again, it's not only about what you sell and when you sell, it's also about how you sell, right? And this is actually what personalization is. It's a combination of three items. Let's move on. Why it is important for the consumers? And there are like, I hope there will be a question like about the privacy of the data, right? And the more we move into this presentation, the more you will be scared about the information people gather about you and the conclusions they make based on this information. But the idea like behind the privacy, and I want to address it before I get all these questions, is it doesn't necessarily have to be forced to be used, right? So appropriate way to get personalization is actually ask the customer, do you want to be treated personally? And this is what it takes for us to make these recommendations. Do you agree with this? And if you put the checkbox, for instance, then you start treating you personally, right? But if you're not, we will just remove these algorithms and we'll never reply to you and we'll never gather information about you and can also like wipe out all the information we have about you, which we might use in this system I will be showing to you next, right? And the good thing, the good news here is that there are only like 30% of people who hesitate to use it, right? And my personal idea and preference is to not push it. My idea is to actually influence the people who will become influencers of these technologies, right? And once these people will start getting value and benefits, they will be like, they will be spreading the word around, and even those 30% who are still not convinced it will bring them value, they will agree to use it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about saving your time, saving your energy, saving your, like the cases when you're not very happy with what you buy, when you buy, or how much time or money you spend on it, right? So one of the examples of how it can be used, like these personalization systems, is, for instance, the same car we're trying to sell. There are usually, like on the e-commerce website, we have only one version of advertisement, right? Because we don't know like what content to show to different people, right? And the idea behind it is like, here we see only holistic visual example, right? But there are a couple more very well-known type of advertisement, for instance, analytic visual, analytic verbal, or holistic verbal, right? And different people actually, depends on their psychometric and psychology profiles, they consume different type of content better. In other words, analytic visual much more resonates with me, but it doesn't necessarily resonate with the rest of the people in this room, right? And one of the goals of the personalization is to actually present the content which will highly resonate with the consumers, with the customers. And the second one is the message. Because like for the guy on the right side, it's important to have high mileage per gallon and low maintenance fee and to not see bus anymore forever, right? But for the lady on the left side, it might resonate saying that it looked nice because she's highly empathetical person, right? She would love to hear that like it color matches some of her like style and stuff like that, okay? So it's different message, it's different type of content and so on. And we are coming closer to how it all works. So we built the system which I'll be showing to you based on some of the data science and artificial intelligence tools. Based on this information, we built so-called ocean criteria. And do we have anybody familiar with the ocean criteria here? One person? Two person. Okay, cool. And one of them is editor of our article, so it doesn't count. So only one. Sorry, Annie. Basically, OCEAN stands for the capital letters of openness, consciousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, and extraversion. Openness actually tells you like to which extent person is open to experience a variety of activities, right? So I don't know, some extreme sports people, they're highly open for the challenges, for the emergency rooms, I guess, and the rest of them, can you see them? Can you read them? Or do you want me to read them? Yeah? So basically like these 5 criteria, for instance, like extraversion is like person tendency to seek stimulation in the company of others, right? And we believe that these 5 criteria, which we measure from 1 to 100%, right, gives us the full picture, or at least we believe it gives us a full picture of how person behaves in different situations, what type of content this person consumes in the best way, right? What highly resonates with this person, and what message will highly resonate with this person. The same way how intuition of a good salesman suggests the different approach for different customers or prospects, the same way we believe this information gives us this information to approach different person personally. So how we get this ocean criteria, right? Before I get to the examples. So there are actually many different types of information we can gather about the customer, about their digital footprint, about the behavior in the internet and like on e-commerce side. And the easiest way to get the ocean criteria is actually ask. So for instance, if I give you the survey with 150 questions and you answer all of them, hopefully honestly, right? I will get the ocean criteria, right? But it's not the case when you have e-commerce websites. You will never tell the customer, listen, you need to go through this survey and maybe in 3 hours you will be able to start using Amazon.com. It doesn't work, right? So that's why the way how we did these algorithms, we actually had a list of people who actually answered the surveys, right? And we call it like example data set, right? And then we also took the text which these people write. So for instance, we know that these people left some product reviews, they also can send emails, they also can send like a ticket to the support, and then we analyze this text and compared with their ocean criteria. And we found this correlation between the text they type and the ocean criteria we identify using surveys, right? And then what we did, and we started analyzing the text of the people who never actually answered any surveys, and we started comparing the ocean to the ocean of these people who actually answered the surveys, right? And then, to double check that it all works, we also asked a couple of the people, the subset of the people whom we analyzed using the algorithm, to answer the survey and compare the results, just to understand the level of accuracy of the system. This is probably the classical approach in the machine learning, and people who work with data science know it's like learning data set, and then test data set, and then real data set. It all works like this. So the way how we get the text data in e-commerce websites is there are many different ways. The most common ways is probably if e-commerce site like Amazon have product reviews, we can get the text which people leave for the products to get the text information. If a person connects their social media website to the e-commerce, or log in using Facebook or Google account, and we have enough text information on their Facebook, we can analyze it as well. Of course, if it's open access, it's not the private post, right? But the text information is not all of the data sources we can use. And I will come back to it at the end of my presentation, but we also found a very good correlation between the items which people buy, right, and their ocean criteria. It also highly correlates. Not only the items, but we split all of the inventory into many different subsets. Like, is it luxury products or basic products? Is it for kids or not, and stuff like that. So we have more than 300 different vectors in terms of data science and machine learning who are familiar with this to actually identify the correlation between ocean and the person. Okay, and I will give more example how to get the ocean based on different data sources at the end of the presentation, some of the futuristic approach we work on. But at the end of the day, after getting all of this data about the customers, right, we are able to build ocean criteria. For instance, we have a Grace, and we know her 5 parameters, right? So what are we going to do next? And the use cases here could be unlimited, but for the sake of this presentation, for instance, we were able to come up with specifically with a tailored advertisement for Grace, right? And also specific tailored message for her, right? And we also in our system we have explanation why we came up with this specific recommendation, with this specific type of content, with this specific message, based on all of the ocean criteria we know about her, right? Does it make sense so far? Okay. And the other benefits of this solution is, I mean, you can count them, but if you know how to approach to the person, how to pitch the product correctly, of course it will increase the revenue, of course it will increase the average check and conversion rate and stuff like that. And here I want to stop for a second and show you the demo we've prepared for this presentation. Can you see it? And by the way, we have Star Wars fans in this room. How many? Not enough. I need at least 10 to switch to the Star Wars version. Okay, so we have this. So basically, for the sake of this presentation, we came up with the 16 profiles of people, right? And we assign every single ocean criteria to one of these 16 profiles. And for different organizations, for different e-commerce, the number could be different. For instance, if you want to be very precise, you can create 100 different profiles, and then 100 different type of content and messages, right? And then assign people to this profiles based on the ocean criteria. It's unlimited. You can have 1 million eventually when machine learning algorithm will create these profiles automatically. But for now, we create them manually just to control how it works together, right? And we have this version where we have simulated profiles, and we have Star Wars version. I like Star Wars version more, so let's... So basically, we picked up 16 characters from the Star Wars, and based on the ocean criteria, we identified each of them, and now we can assign every single customer on the left side, and by the way, we change their names for the sake of privacy, to one of these profiles. So for instance, who do you want to check? Tell me the name on the left. Say it again. Irene? Okay, yeah, this is easy. So Irene falls to the this profile, and basically you can see the ocean scores on the right side. You can see the profile which was like chosen for this person. You can see the advertisement example we prepared for the sake of this demo, right? Here, and you can buy the right like battleship for the battle. But what's most important, like here, which is like a serious note here, is we are able, based on the 5 criteria, we are able to identify the score. You can see it in this table, and we can identify the proposed approach here, right? And of course, it will depend from e-commerce side to the e-commerce side, because specific could be different. For instance, if it's like an outdoor e-commerce, then the specific could be different to, I don't know, to real estate company or to the car wholesale, right? And we can actually build this ocean criteria for, let's pick up somebody else, like Luke Skywalker. And we are able to identify these numbers, and then there are like, it's only limited by the marketing team budget, or I don't know, by the imagination you have, whatever is smaller in this case. The other source of information we are getting this data from is the history of purchases for the people, right? It's just the same algorithm, but using these different like data sources. We also built this tool here, which where you can play with the different ocean scores. So, for instance, if I put some small numbers, it will be terrible person. And there's another terrible person here. So I'm just trying to show you that Darth Vader is like having a little bit better neuroticism than Stormtrooper. Somewhere here. Yeah, this is terrible person. And we also have like, for the sake of this demo, we also created the tool which extracts the Twitter posts. And it also tries to calculate the ocean criteria based on the Twitter post. And before I ask for the Twitter account in the audience, we also picked up a couple of very well-known people and their Twitter accounts. And the bad thing about it is that they not necessarily always write this post themselves. Sometimes they have an army of people. Like I'm pretty sure, like Barack is not written his post always himself, right? But anyways, we can try to see what's his profile in Star Wars hierarchy. Han Solo. And like from this picture on the right side, from the ocean criteria on the right side. So let's try to guess why it is. So what's the main goal of the people? And I'm pretty sure Barack doesn't write his tweets himself. He has an army of people who tell him exactly what should be the word in there, like every single word, they double check it a million times. So what's the end goal for these people who stands behind like Barack Obama and write this Twitter post? What's the end goal? How they want to influence the audience? Any guess? I mean, I'm like not the expert in politics, but I guess they want to resonate with all of them, right? And that's why you see high openness, you see high extraversion here, and all of it is very high. But for some reason, like for instance, Elon Musk, he is a little bit more real, right? I hope so. And, Okay, something went wrong. I need to reload it. Engineers told me every time something goes wrong, just reload it. Okay, and do we have any volunteer in the room who want to sacrifice their Twitter account and see what's the ocean criteria for you guys?
Yep. Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. There are like two Donald Trumps in the Twitter. One is Donald Trump and one is real Donald Trump. Do you want real Donald Trump or just Donald Trump?
Real Donald Trump.
So hold on, guys. We have a Houston here, and Houston, we have a problem. I'm not even surprised. Live demo should not work. I mean, it's a live demo. Okay. So let's keep it spinning. So anyways, yeah, we will try in a second. Maybe the network is not the best one. But anyways, let me come back to the checking somebody's real Twitter account, and I want to just finalize the slides we have here. So basically, I want to spend a couple of words about the future of personalization. And before we go on, as we discussed before, we use the text analysis, which is like natural language processing and stuff like that. And we use the buying pattern score to identify the real personalization, like for the real people, right? But there are actually many different data sources. For instance, we have this research from the academia, which can show you the correlation between the voice of the person and the ocean criteria. So the way how you pronounce words, the way how you produce the sounds, is how we can recognize this ocean criteria as well. So we don't have to have access to the text data. We can just put the microphone somewhere in the store, and while you talk to the person in the cash desk, we can try to understand your ocean criteria, assign it to the credit card you paid or loyalty card you paid, and then treat you better next time. So for instance, if you see the extraversion is 0 for you, then we can come up with the suggestion to the cashier saying, please don't even try to speak to this person. Just let them take the items and go, right? Or vice versa, if the extroversion is high, we can recommend, please try to speak to these people because it's important for them, right? And the same, like we are working on the analyzing the ocean based on the video. So the way how you behave, the way like your mimics, it all can tell you what kind of person you are. And text information is much better in this sense, because like video is harder to process and analyze, right? But at the same time, it will take a little bit more time, but then we don't have to have access to the video. We can just use the CCTV cameras to understand the ocean criteria and build the ocean profiles. And again, treat you personally as well. And our favorite one is the ECG. Do you guys know what this ECG stands for? It's an electrical cardiogram. It's the tool which measures the heartbeats, right? And I will come back for it in a second. Just show you a couple of examples of the voice recognition. And like Amazon Echo, Google Assistant, right? They will never admit it, but I'm pretty positive they have an army of data science engineers who will analyze what people tell. Like for instance, Amazon Echo. They can already recognize by the voice how many people you have in the house, right? And it's just a matter of time when they will recognize what the type of psychometrics you have in the house, right? And how to approach to you. The same, like with the video, as I mentioned, like CCTV cameras is everywhere. And thermal information can also tell you how, like for instance, imagine the person stands in front of the shelf, right? The way how temperature changes, like in your face, in your hands, we can recognize if it resonates with you or not. It's not directly related to the ocean, but it's all possible. And the devices, like previously, they were very expensive, but now you can buy them for a couple $100, right, for these devices, which makes it much more easier. And my favorite one is ECG. So even ECG can tell you what kind of person you are. Funny fact. And of course, it will be a challenge for us to grab the customer and tell, listen, stay here for 5 minutes, we'll connect all of this like 100 chords and measure your ECG to understand your like ocean criteria. It will never happen like this. But you will be surprised, but there are devices like this which can measure your ECG in like 5-10 seconds by only touching these two plates here. So we can potentially build it in into the like cache desk, like into the table. You just stand like this and we measure your ECG and we know who you are, right? The only challenge here is like 5 to 10 seconds is too much. It will be hard to make the customer to use it, like because you will not be able to tell the customer, listen, stay like this for 10 seconds. They're like, why? Right? It will be challenging. So that's why we're waiting for it to decrease the time. And we, like in our R&D lab, we have one of the solutions which unlocks the car based on your ECG. We call it like iLog, and they still have the same problem. Like 5 seconds is the minimum they spend to recognize your ECG. If we go to the 1-2 seconds, then we can start using for the ocean recognition as well, because this will be practically better. And I want to just finish, like, again, analyzing these companies, what they do. So Facebook launched their like messenger video, right? They never charge for this video, right? You can use it for free. The same with Google Hangouts, right? You can use it for free. And like Amazon launched the Amazon Echo, and it's not the conspiracy theory, right? But they definitely do it for the sake of analyzing you, because like if you think about like Amazon.com, when you log in there, you buy some items, you will never be able to tell if it's you or your wife or your kids, like whatever, right? But if you see the person on a video and you can recognize they're using like Face ID, you can definitely tell that this is this person and this is the sounds this person produced and this is how this person behaves in front of the video camera. And you can understand this psychometrics much better and much accurately versus like some click-through analysis of the website. So we have this idea, and like we suspect them to launch all of these tools and services only for the sake of providing better advertisement, providing better like personalization and determine the psychometrics of the customers they have. The only challenge they have these days is they don't have physical access to the customers, right? So their capabilities are limited, and partially, like I suspect that Amazon.com launches all these like real stores to have this access, to regain this physical access to the customer. But again, this gives a huge opportunities for the, I call them offline stores, to leverage this access, to leverage this in-store experience, and to measure all this information to treat this customer better, to give them better experience at the end of the day, and give them better lives as well. So it's not all that bad. We believe in better in the future, and we build this for the future as well. So I guess this it. And I promise, like, if you come back to me after presentation, we can launch your Twitter and see your ocean criteria. Just need to refresh it a little bit. Any questions so far?
Yeah, so how many tweets do you need to get your transcript?
So this is a very good question. And our demo, which we created, when there are not enough tweets, it just says not enough data to show it. So we need at least like 1,000 characters. This is roughly where we start getting like normal results. Everything less, it could be like very random results. So that's why we limited to the 1,000 to start. The more you have, the better. And because like the more text you write and or we have access to the text, the more like it is normalized. Because otherwise, if you have one message and you was in a very terrible mood, something terrible happened, then the text is different to what you have normally. Okay? Any more questions? Yep.
How does it deal with things like sarcasm?
Like how it deals with the sarcasm in the text?
Well, like in social posts, if someone's social posts are always just sarcastic and they're kidding, does it know you meant the opposite?
Right, and this is a good question. Like, and like I will extend your question if you don't mind. The big challenge we have with the social media is that it's not always your text, because sometimes people press share, and this is okay. We ignore this post. But sometimes people just copy paste the messages. And here it's very hard to tell if it's your or not. And we have this algorithm which actually searches the internet for the same text. So we search for the same text on the Facebook, for instance, in internet, and if you see it like in 100 places, then definitely it's not yours unless you have 100 accounts like this, right? And you decided to post it everywhere. For the sarcasm, like there is an algorithm which, so we have this paradigm which is called anomalies, right? And sarcasm falls into the anomaly behavior, right? And we have a couple of filters which detects this anomaly behavior, and it just removes this text as well. So unfortunately, if all of your Facebook is sarcasm, then we will remove it by these filters, and we will tell that there is not enough information to actually process you. Okay? And again, the more text we have from you, the better the results, because this way we can tell for sure if it's just anomaly or it's just the way how you talk all the time. Mm-hmm.
It should be ocean dimensions. Can you detect from the ECG, and to what confidence can you ascribe those different measures?
So the ECG, it's like there is a huge book. I can share it with you guys, like how to compare the ECG and psychology, right? How to convert ECG into psychology. But the thing we should and there is different level of accuracy, and we only research this, so we're not experts in these questions. But what we already saw is a correlation between urgency and the ECG, right? So we can definitely tell by the deep diapason and intervals, and I might say it wrong in English, but based on the ECG, how to measure the urgency of the person. And urgency highly resonates with the extraversion and with openness, with 2 parameters, right? It doesn't necessarily resonates with other items, but it resonates with these 2.
Urgent people are extroverted and open?
Yes. In many cases, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So as I mentioned before, CCTV cameras. Yeah. It's So emotional is more better than ECG, because people spend hundreds of years researching the physiognomics and mimics and stuff like that, right? So there is a huge correlation between motions and mimics and the psychometrics of the person. Yeah, that's true. And there is even the whole science direction which is called socionics. Did anybody heard about it? So it's purely about how to. It has 16 subtypes of people, and they recognize the subtypes by the mimics, including mimics and including the way how people behave. And there is so we've researched the studies, and we tried it on a couple of our folks in SoftServe, in on our test group, and it works. Based on the mimics, we can recognize the psychotype of the person. Mm-hmm. Any more questions?
If you developed a emotion profile of someone through criteria or input from one domain, so retail, and let's just forget it's just transactions, can you then use that profile for other domains, or is the input the big thing? I'll give you an example. Could I look at someone's retail profile and put together a pretty good profile, use that emotion profile to determine what kind of coworker they would be, or what their insurance risk potentially would be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a good question, and I will split it into 2 questions, right? First is, will we have the same ocean if you analyze different industries, right? And the question is we should have similar, otherwise it doesn't work, right? Because personality and psychometrics should be the same. You are not different when you're making the purchases on internet or work with your coworkers. You should be the same, unless you have some psychological illness, which could be the case, and because there are could be a couple of persona live in one body, right? And this is the psychological illness, and in this case you will get 2 ocean criteria. But in general, if algorithm works well and we have enough data and we train the model correctly, you should get the same ocean criteria, more or less the same, couple percent difference from different data sources. And then can you apply it to the rest of the industries? If you get it from, for instance, from real estate, can you apply it to retail and vice versa? Of course you can, because it's the same approach. The difference will be how you let's say, use this information. For instance, what will be the message if, like, for the person in different industries? The message should be different because the subject area is different and the approach is different. And this is where the subject matter experts in these areas should actually suggest the different approach based on the Ocean criteria. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you've spoken about how you classify people in profiles. Can you speak a little bit about how those profiles or results you see in terms of how those profiles are predictive or whatever, what kind of results, whether that be lift, conversion, or anything else like that?
You mean different types of people, how they, what the conversion rate depends on the Ocean criteria, or?
Yeah, I guess I'm just, so you've been able to sort of classify these people so you know which profile they fit, but then you're using those profiles to then maybe serve up at the page to do something like that. Can you speak to that second half, and then how you would use this to get sort of close to it?
Right, so basically, like, the idea here is that if, as I mentioned before, if you resonate better with the customer, then conversion rate should go up, right? And what we use here is view A and B testing. So, for instance, we start showing tailored message to 10% of the customers, right? And if you see the good results, we mark it in the data model saying that, like, it worked. And if not, then we mark it as it didn't work, right? And we reiterate and retrain the model, right? And if speaking about the results, like on this A and B testing, the conversion rate right now, like, increase is not terribly huge. Like, I mean, it's not 300%, it's not like 1000%. It's all about like 10-20%, right? But even like 10% increase is huge on a massive scale of sales, for instance. And the message here is that you will probably, if you expect this model to be 100% accurate from the very beginning, then it's not the right model for you, because it will take time, and A/B testing is constantly improving, right? So at some point, we hope to get like to 50% increase. This will be huge.
Well, 10% conversion rate is huge. So
I mean, yeah.
That's great results.
Yeah. Okay.
What size of retailer do you see?
So we don't have too many of them implemented it yet, right? So and it really doesn't depend on the size. It more depends on how you use it, right? Because like it can eventually equal work fine with the small company, with the big company. For the big companies, it works better because they have a scale. For instance, as I mentioned before, like for instance, 1% increase in conversion rate. For the small company, it doesn't mean too much, right? For the huge company, it means millions, right? So that's why it probably works better on a bigger company, like mid-size, large companies. But at the same time, it depends on how you use this information. For instance, if you imagine that you have only one prospect and the whole career depends on how you convert this customer into this prospect into your customer, right? You would rather like to have the Ocean criteria about this person and start this conversation from the very beginning and convert this person, right? So that's why, I wouldn't say it really works better for one of these companies. It depends on the retailer, depends on the task, depends on like how much data you have, what's the goals you have, and stuff like that.
Are you guys writing your own algorithms to interpret the data, or is this mostly based on research?
So we wrote two our own algorithms, and we also used IBM Watson just to compare it, how it works together, and the results are pretty much the same. I mean, the correlation is quite good. So we have our own, and we use IBM Watson so far, so 3 algorithms. All show pretty much the same results.
For example, a lot of companies that I know, they already have something like this based on the field of emotions. Have you tried to transform some scoring from that algorithm or model to yours?
So we didn't use any transformation. We just used it from scratch. We just used like researches and then wrote our own algorithms and start looking into how it works. We actually used the approach which company called Cambridge Analytica used, and we used to tell it in our presentation before, but now we try to avoid this because and it's not because they did something wrong technically. Technically they did a great job, right? They used the right algorithms. It's like personalities, the management of the company. I don't want to judge them, but I mean it's bad from the marketing perspective, so that's why we don't use them anymore. Okay.
Does it work in foreign languages?
So for now we just used English language. Yeah, we just didn't have a capacity to use it in different languages. But I don't see the reason why not. I mean, the way how machine learning works, and we use there are two types of algorithms. One is when you can explain the results from machine learning, one you cannot explain. So we use the second one, right? Like deep reinforcement learning, and you're not always able to explain why machine detect these ocean criteria. And that's why for the machine doesn't matter which text it is. If we get, for instance, 1,000 Ukrainian people answer our survey, and then we get the Ukrainian text from them, and then we train the algorithm, I'm pretty sure it will work fine. We just need to spend this time with the service, with these people, and we just didn't have a capacity for now. Yep.
Considering a lot of different retailers or any industry that would be listeners have very unique, complex marketing stacks, technology stacks, how long do you think it would take the average customer to try to prove of concept this in their situations?
This is a good question. So basically it will depend on the amount of data the customer have, right? And if you already have some data about the customers, then it will just take like a couple days to come up with the tailored algorithm to see the results, right? And then it will take some time, like maybe like a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, to integrate it with the existing systems, with e-commerce solution, for instance, and start doing A and B testing to see the results, and then adjust the model. So it's like literally from a couple days to like a couple months, depends on the availability of the data. But there is also a portion of the retailers or companies which either do not have this data about the customer, or they have it but in a not very structured format. And for this customer, we work on actually first start gathering this data. And then you need to spend some time to gather this data, which could also be like from a couple of weeks to a month.
So in that case, would you maybe start with like a data audit?
Right, it always starts with the data audit. And like for, so there are companies in US which do the data onboarding. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but like these companies, you give them the first name, last name, email, date of birth, and they give you tons of data. So this is one of the approach how to get this data for your customers. Otherwise, we can start gathering data like naturally from your systems that you have. So there are a couple of approaches. It always starts with data audit because the whole system depends on data heavily. One more.
It's not related to that actually. So a lot of people know that this is in those pre-existing profiles that we have, you see some overlap in apps as far as the
So for sure we can and there are companies which are very disciplined in terms of the catering, in profiling customers, right? And for sure there are a lot of SME work done in this field in some of the companies, and of course this is very valuable information. This is very valuable starting point. And to be honest, Ocean is not the mandatory number of parameters. Some of the customer might have some extra, I don't know, criteria to measure. And this is a perfect example when companies can have the historical profiling, and we can use it as items in our Ocean as well. So yeah, for sure.
Can you talk about the methodology behind training your data set here, the size of it, and were you working off of psychometric tests that were manually done in these cases, or is there anything across that?
So you mean like what the data set size or?
Yeah, in order to train a model, we're working on individuals that actually went and took a quick slide factor
Right.
test, or how did you go about doing that?
Right. So we had several approaches actually. So one of them is we had this number of people who passed this like survey, Big Five survey, and we compared the like text to the ocean criteria it generates. This is one approach. We also used the validation data sets from Amazon. Amazon actually shared the huge data set of the product reviews and the scores for the ocean criteria they have as well. We also used we tried to use everything available on the internet, to be honest, just to save the time and to confirm that the system and the model works fine. And there is the similar data set from the IBM Watson as well, available on the internet publicly. So yeah, so there were a couple like different data sources we used.
For Watson, do they have 5-factor model?
Yes, yeah. So they were very kind to share this information with the world.
Do you see an evolution of the ocean criteria for individuals going to something that happened in their life, age, or if you track that and try to understand that and do something about it?
So the question was like, can we correlate the ocean criteria to the person life, right? What happens in life, like, can we predict it maybe? Yeah.
Or are we consistent? You know,
Are they consistent?
Once you get the ocean
Right.
from someone, that's for your life. I mean, that's what you are.
So from the psychology books, they are not consistent, right? So this is what we know. Unfortunately, we didn't have a luck to measure the ocean for the same person with interval of 10 years. Maybe in 10 years we can compare. But if you want to trust the psychology books and researchers, then ocean criteria are not constant. They change within a time, right? And there is even a pattern, like there is even formulas and algorithm how they change. So psychologists over the tens and hundreds of years measured it actually. So, and we can apply this correlation to predict what will be your ocean like in 10, 20 years with a certain amount of accuracy, right? How it resonates and how it correlates with the lifetime events. So it's funny that you ask, because like another system we work on is a demand prediction system, right? And this demand prediction system, the main concept is if you have all of the information, all of the possible information about the person, you can predict with 100% accuracy what will this person be buying, because you know this person for 100%. And it is a matter of what's the percentage of information you have about this person, right? So right now it could be like only 2-5%. That's why the prediction is not very accurate for the whole lifetime. But the idea here is that we want at some point to connect these two systems to see how we can use them. We didn't do this before, but we have it like in the to-do list to see. It's much broader, much more complex way. Hopefully CIA and FBI will not close up before it happens. Yep.
So what's the benefit of having the ocean criteria? Why not use the entire 300 features based on how many for a recommendation system interpreted is not really
Right, so the traditional personalization is using like collaborative filtration when they cluster people, like say, let's say, I'm similar to this group of people, so that's why I do this and these purchases, right? So the difference here is that basically using the text data, we can get the real like psychometrics of the person. Versus 360 view is more based on history of purchases and like click-through analysis, stuff like that. So it's less accurate when we talk about the psychometrics and what message to give to the person. And 360, I would say it's like step 1. So this is like step 2, 3. It's more advanced, more accurate approach and system. Because it's like when you get to the psychology specialist, if you give him or her like your 360 view, it doesn't tell them too much. But if you give them this ocean criteria, even for the experts in psychology, they can tell you like a lot about this person. You know what I mean? So it's more academically proved. So Cambridge Analytica did it, yeah. Yeah, Cambridge Analytica did it. At least they claim they did it. Cambridge Analytica, yeah. They are in news all over the place, so you will find them easily. At least nobody claims it, and they will probably not do it. Yeah. Okay, guys. I guess like we need to wrap up and enjoy the drinks and foods, and come ask me more questions if you want. Like we are here to spread the word and increase the trust to these systems. And again, like we will have more meetups coming up. I almost forgot about it. And also, Brianna told me that if you leave the feedback form right here, am I right? We will.
Please turn in your feedback form up here. It has a ticket on it, and then we'll be drawing for a $75 Amazon gift card in like 15 minutes.
In 15 minutes, yeah. Okay, cool. So just leave it here, and we will name the successful. Thank you, guys.
Cut my hands permanently.
Alex Thomas for the win.
What I was saying.
Red button. This one says power start stop. Or is it this one? No, that's not a button. Yeah, you do it. You do it. Oh, no, it says start stop right there. Anakin. Alex Thomas.